Certainly, I'm not against it, but I'd like to keep the cost down to the parents. I don't think they want to have to pay any more, but I know all of us, when you guys were younger, maybe now you do other activities in which we all are paying, at least myself as a parent, for my kids to participate in things that aren't school related. So it's understandable that there could be some costs. You know, it's been nice over the years not to have costs, but hopefully we can continue on having either low or none.
All right. All right. These cuts, are they an effect of how badly the economy is doing, or has there been a change in student enrollment that's caused this?
Yeah, a little bit of both. The economy is the biggest factor. I mean, when we're talking about cuts in the state aid or cut per pupil, you know, those are significant cuts. In terms of our enrollment, yes, this year we lost some students, and we're going into a lot of reasons why, but number one being the subprime mortgages that were given out in America, and that really hurt because a lot of people lost their mortgages and moved out. In Homer, there was lots of low-cost housing, and those loans were given out to people that, for whatever reason, couldn't afford to pay their mortgages off and lost their house and had to move out. And so we had a fairly large surge in negative enrollment last year. We lost about 40 students between September of, to get the right year here, September of 09 to September of 08 to September 09. But we've been steady all year, so I feel pretty confident that we're not going to lose any more students. But that did have an effect because it was a certain amount of money. You take 40 students and you multiply it by our per student $7,216. There's a significant amount of money, but not anywhere near the amount of money when it's a per student cut. $100 a student, you know, 165 was this year's cut. If it's going to be 400 next year, that's where the biggest amounts come from the economy. So I would say the biggest factor is the economy, and you know, we have some control over our student enrollment. Some, you know, there is schools of choice in Michigan, and our school currently is 26% school of choice students. And if more students decide to choose us as a district to go to, so be it, and that will help us revenue-wise enrollment. But I also think that there is a point where you got to look at your in-district kids that live in our district, just feeling that we're going to stay stable next year, but certainly not grow.
That's school choice.
All right. Well, with this buyout, we're losing Mr. Welch, we're losing a lot of really experienced teachers, but how much money, like a projected savings for how much we're going to...
And it's pretty specific in terms of what the savings is, and it really depends on how many people are replaced. And projection-wise, because our enrollment's less than it was, a couple of years ago, and significantly less than it was probably 4 years ago, we would save $370,000 if we didn't replace 4 teachers that retired. Right now there's 10 officially that are participating in this early buyout. So if we don't replace 4 or replace 6, $370,000 is saved. If we don't replace 6, that's $480,000. At this point, as I said at our last board meeting, not replacing 4 is the preferred way to go because we have to educate students, and we can't just simply say, especially in elementary, we're going to put 35 kids in the classroom and say that's okay. We've got to make sure that we have a number of students in the classroom that makes sense. And we think, and that's a we coming from myself, I think that we can get by with 4 or less staff members.
Oh, all right. Another controversial thing has been how we replaced the janitors that have been working here with a corporation, or janitors that work for a corporation. Has that saved us a significant amount of money?
Yeah, the projected savings, and throughout the year, is $151,000 is how much we would save for that decision. And it was really a tough thing because it was involved people. And I always say that first is that the people involved I can't say how much it meant to them. I'm sure, financially for the district, we had to look at some savings and looking outside of the classroom, and one of those places was in the janitorial services. And we were able to save approximately that much money, and the approximate comes from we had projected a budget projection. This is how much it costs to have in-house custodial services, and this is what it costs to have an outside service, and the difference is about $150,000 is what that comes out to be. So it has saved money, but there certainly was a cost.
Okay.
And that's per year, so it'd be like for the 09, 010, or for the 09, 10 school year, it'd be $131,000.
One of the things that I wonder is, what's the reason for the change in cost? Is it that the janitors who work for the corporation are paid less, or is it that we kind of pay the corporation a fee that's kind of condensed?
Our part is we pay the corporation a fee, and they supply all of the cleaning materials, things like that we were buying ourselves. And so because we're paying that outside company each month for their service, it's a little bit less. Do they make less money per hour? Yes, there's no doubt about it. Industry standards is about where they come in at, is what I understand.
All right. Last question is, school funding had reached an ultimate low. Were you thinking about consolidating schools with Tecontra, another local area?
Yeah. Consolidation of schools is a large topic, and it's something that we have talked. And we've talked formally with other school districts. I talked to myself with other superintendents of how things may work out if that happens. One large issue facing smaller schools, and we have to be considered a smaller school, is what if we had forced consolidation by the state of Michigan? And so if we get in front of it and say we're going to work together with, let's say, Tecontra, for example, or let's say Litchfield or Concord or Albion, who's to our north, wouldn't it be wiser for us to do that ourselves and work together up front instead of somebody telling us we have to consolidate? There is significant talks at the state level, and the legislators talk about that there is a consolidation plan that some legislators want to move forward towards, that we should consolidate school districts. If we had 700 school districts in Michigan, maybe we should do it better with 350. And that's, we do have a large number of school districts that are very small. Would I consider it? Certainly. We certainly was consider talking and seeing what advantages and disadvantages there are. I chose Homer back in 1991 because it was a small district, and it was in a kind of a community that I grew up in, and I appreciate that. And we don't want to get, in my opinion, to a point where we have such large schools, or large high schools is where the largest would be, that we can't have kids participate in several different things and have a well-rounded education. I think there's a negative. How big's too big? If you get into 10,000 high school, I think that's way too big. Can you get by with 1,000 kids in your high school and still be a little smaller field? Probably. And I think that's realistic, is for us to get to a point where we have school districts come together. Now, am I a big proponent where I'm going to say we have to do it, we're going to do it? No, but I do think that's something that we need to look at, and if the opportunity opens itself up with districts having trouble financially, this may be a way for districts to survive without the state taking over, basically.
I think Tecontra is a pretty good example of that, because they're ridiculously
small. Yeah, they're very small. Financially, they're not in terrible shape, but I think that they're getting closer and closer to that because of the number of students and the student loss that they suffered. So, yeah, consolidation it happened in the 60s, early 60s. There was consolidation of school districts all over the place. Hanover, Horton, North Adams, I mean, if you go around the state of Michigan, there was probably 50 consolidations. And we're getting close to that point now where that could happen again, where we have lots of consolidation elections to see what and where people are going to go to if they can't get by themselves on their own.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.